Lögfræðingurinn Lee Buchheit hefur starfað fyrir íslensk stjórnvöld frá hruni að áætlun afléttingu hafta sem kynnt var á mánudag, en líka við Icesave samningagerð. Hann segist ekki sjá eftir neinu hvað þá vinnu varðar, en hann hins vegar bjartsýnn á framtíð íslensks efnahagslífs eftir síðustu tíðindi. Við ræðum við Buchheit í seinni hluta þáttar. Og þá það lögfræðingurinn Lee Buchheit sem hefur starfað fyrir íslensk stjórnvöld árabil, meðal annars að áætlun afléttingu hafta. Hann telur tímann sem það tók að koma henni saman í hæsta máta eðlilegan og að nú sé bjart framundan í íslensku efnahagslífi. Hans verkefnum hérlendis sem hófust í hruninu sé lokið með þessu. Nú geta hann komið hingað til lands til að stunda stangveiði áhyggjulaus. Nóg sé af kreppuverkefnum annars staðar. Þóra ræddi við Buchheit í dag.
Welcome, Mr. Buchheit.
Thank you.
Now, you haven't been on the show for almost 5 years when you came here to present the conclusion of the last Icesave agreement, which was then rejected in a referendum. Does it bring good or bad memories? Do you ever think of that?
Well, I hope this one will not go to a referendum.
No, there seems to be a much larger consensus on this agreement, or the plan for lifting the capital controls. But I mean, just today there was a story on how much the Buchheit agreement would have cost us. Do you ever give it a thought?
Not much. That incident, the mission there was to negotiate the best agreement that could be negotiated with the British and the Dutch governments. Thereafter, it was up to the people in Iceland to decide whether they wish to pursue it or take their chances with the litigation. So, no regrets.
That's good. But as I said, there's definitely more consensus on this. Now, when the capital controls were introduced in 2008, the aim was to keep them for a year max. Can you explain to the public why it has taken all this time to create this exit plan, which actually seems to be quite a success?
Yes, capital controls are relatively easy to impose, but very difficult to lift. They are, by their very nature, adhesive. Because, you see, the capital control becomes its own justification. The longer the capital control is in place, the more people worry about it, about wanting to leave as quickly as they can. So if you then lift the controls, the longer they're there, the more people will want to leave with greater speed. Hence the need to keep the controls in place. So they justify themselves.
It builds up behind the
exactly.
The controls.
You folks suffered a financial catastrophe that I think is unprecedented. 85% of your banking system collapsed. Imagine what that would look like in a country like the United States or the United Kingdom or anywhere else. I think there is a nearly universal consensus that the controls were essential when they were put in place. I think there's now a nearly universal consensus that they've outlived their usefulness and that they are probably retarding economic growth in this country rather than protecting it. Hence the political, and to my eyes, social acceptance that now is the time to lift them. Why did it take so long to get to this point? I think in part because of the sheer size of the amount of money that has backed up. It's roughly 70% of GDP is backed up behind these controls. You could not lift them quickly without risking, not just risking, without almost inviting a major dislocation in the exchange rate, which would ripple through the whole economy. So it had to be done very delicately and had to be studied thoroughly. One aspect of capital controls in Iceland, which you don't see in other countries, this is a relatively small economy, not very well diversified, and so a mistake or a misstep, put it that way, a misstep in lifting the controls could have profound consequences on the economy. Hence, a desire on the part of the government to be as cautious and thorough in this process as they possibly could.
You said on Monday, when the plan was presented, that it was unique. It was unparalleled. This situation and this plan. How is that? I mean, Iceland is not the first country to lift capital controls, but is it just the sheer size of the problem, or what is unparalleled with it?
It's partly the size of the problem. It is partly the fact that this is a small economy. It is partly the fact that you had endured a financial crisis disproportionate to the size of the economy, which produced both an economic bruising and, frankly, a psychological bruising. There is now a visceral fear, I think, of inviting a renewal of that crisis. And that, too, induced a degree of caution in how this problem was being approached.
How do you estimate the effect on just the balance of the economy of the country? There's going to be, if everything works out as planned, a large inflow of both ISK and foreign currency into the Icelandic treasury. What is the effect going to be?
Yes, my guess is that this will produce a virtuous upward spiral.
Okay.
Remember what we're talking about. The motivation for this program was not revenue raising. It was to protect the balance of payments and the exchange rate. But it had the happy consequence, will have the happy consequence, if it plays out as we expect, of producing very considerable revenue for the government. Revenue that is unbudgeted, unlooked for, unanticipated. How often has that ever happened to any country, any time? Even if you discovered oil under the Ministry of Finance, it would take years for you to develop it.
Sure.
The amount of money, one won't know for sure until it's over, but let's call it about 650 billion ISK. Most of it will be applied to pay down debt. It will retire about 1/3 of your national debt. The equivalent statistic for the United States would be $6 trillion US.
I don't even know how many zeros that is.
I don't either. It's a lot, though. The effect will be, ought to be, first you will obviously save, you'll save about 35 to 40 billion ISK just in debt service on that money. But it should be perceived by the rating agencies as an extraordinary and very rapid improvement in your financial position, which ought to translate into improved ratings, which ought to translate into lower borrowing costs, and the virtuous spiral should continue. That's what I hope will happen. As a matter of fact, that's what I think will happen.
Well, that's good to hear. Now, you work with governments around the world, and one can see from your CV that you prefer to work with debtors rather than creditors. You've been working with Greece and other governments. Are you done with Iceland now?
No. I intend to go fishing in Iceland.
Okay, well, that's much better work than you've been doing in that sense. It's positive for the country. But do you think, if you look at the last few years that you have actually been working as a consultant for the various governments, that your job is done in that field? So you can go fishing just with a peaceful mind? In
that field, I think, yes. Remember, I was first invited here when the crisis broke. The crisis is, I hope, coming to an end. The good news for me is that there's no shortage of crises elsewhere.
Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Booth.
Thank you.